It's a huge honor for me today to be podcast interviewing Casey Culberson all the way from Mill Creek, Washington. What's that, a suburb of Seattle?
Yes, it is, just north of Seattle.
Just north of Seattle. And Casey Culberson graduated from the University of Washington School of Dentistry in 2001, and since that time has worked in Mill Creek, Washington. He currently serves on the board of Health Teams International, a Christian-based short-term missions organization. He is the inventor and CEO of the Edison Award-winning Molar Media Mount, a company that produces a mount that connects an iPad to your overhead dental light. Casey is also co-owner of NWSUP, a company that sells stand-up paddle boards in the Northwest. 4 years ago, Incisal Edge magazine voted him one of the top 40 dentists under 40, and last month he was picked as one of the top 10 most interesting dentists by Dentist Money Digest magazine. And you are an interesting dentist. You've been a member of Dentaltown since 2002. You've posted over 200 times. I'm a big fan of your posts. Thanks for coming on my show today.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
And by the way, if you go to molarmediamount.com, he has a hilarious video. I like that one-liner in your video where you said, you can be what you want to be, a dentist instead of a babysitter.
That's right.
So,
yeah, go ahead.
So what would my homies find on Molar Media Mount, and what made you, in your journey, get involved and create Molar Media Mount?
So, I work in the office. We have TVs up in the ceiling, not in the ceiling, but on an arm from the, mounted from the ceiling. And the day they put them in, I was thinking, no one will ever be able to see these when they're getting worked on, on number 15 or something. So my aha moment was a kid was fighting. I thought they were in pain because they were kind of squirming around. And I asked them and they said, actually, they're like, I can't see SpongeBob. So that day I had won an iPod Touch, or I'd ordered enough supplies to get a free iPod Touch, and it happened to come in the mail. And I just was one of those moments where I was like, what if I could put the screen where they could really see it and right up next to the light? So I have a buddy that's a prototyper, and I'm more of a doer than an idea person. So I'm not afraid to take some risks. So I was like, I'm going to make this for my own office. So I made one. I had one prototype and just got the response. And it was not until I never decided, I'm going to make this into a dental product I'm going to sell all over the world. It was more of I'm going to make this for my own patients. I'm always like, if I can make my patient experience better, I'm going to do it. So I made it, and then everyone's response was amazing. So and that moment was when I went, maybe I should make this and try to sell it. So just to kind of get it out there. So I went from there.
And when did you start selling it?
It was, I think, about 2 years ago. So is when I went first on the market. And so now we're in version 2. You always work out the kinks in version 1. You don't really know how it's going to respond. I have them in my office, and I'm maybe a little more gentle, knowing that it's how it's made. But now version 2 is much stronger and better, and so now we're in that stage.
And so describe it. A lot of these people, some are watching you on Dentaltown, YouTube, and Facebook, but for the ones that are listening to you on iTunes, commuting to work, describe what it looks like.
It is,
what exactly is it?
It's a mount that hooks not to the ceiling, not to anywhere other than it hooks directly to your dental light. So right above the swivel of the light, it connects, and then it's an arm that supports any tablet. It'll work with any tablet as long as it's a pound or less. So not the huge iPad Pro, but the iPad Air or Kindle Fire or iPad Mini, all those work for it. And it holds the screen right next to the light. I think the day I realized was the light is always shining in the patient's mouth, and their eyes are always next to their mouth, so why not put the screen next to the light? So in that sense, it's funny, I use a headlight mainly. I mean, most dentists are using a headlight as well. But the assistants still use the light. So we always still have a light, and it's powerful. That was it was the response that I got. It was the patients loved it. What's funny is a little side note, I got my teeth cleaned 3 days ago, and it had been I hate to admit, but a year and a half that it fit into my schedule. And I was watching a movie, and I was it kind of reinvigorate, because I have a day job, right? So I kind of ebb and flow on how the interest of dealing with this, and I was like watching a movie. I was like so into it and not even thinking about getting my teeth cleaned that I had to watch the rest of the movie when I got home, like at night. So it showed me how powerful it is. And for those patients that are just so uncomfortable, like, do they want to stare at the ceiling and just think about what you're doing, or do they want to be somewhere else? And I think that's the power of it. So, and it's really the combination of some Bluetooth headphones and that screen where you can actually see it and you can move it. When you tip the patient back, the light moves back and it moves the screen with you. So with kids, it's funny, I can like move the light and their head will move, or move the screen and their head will move back. So when I'm working on them, so.
Really?
Yeah, it's like, that's how like dialed in they are. So, and I'm not a pediatric dentist, but I work on a lot of kids, but adults too. I have some adults that will not stay if they can't be distracted. So.
I follow you on Twitter, and you had a tweet about 43 movies you can stream on Netflix. Is that something you run in that, or what?
I stream Netflix, you know, and so you can get a Netflix account for more than 3 devices. I think it's up to 5 for only like $10 a month. So no cable. We used to have cable in our office, and we had, you know, a DVD player that's all wired really expensively. So this has no wires, no anything, you know, it's just streaming for $10 a month or $12 a month from Netflix, and they know. And, you know, I always have people, I've learned through dealing with dentists that they're a bit skeptical. That's what I've learned. They're like, well, I don't want that's going to take too long to decide. And I'm like, well, with a kid, you just ask them, what's your favorite show on Netflix? And in 3 seconds, they will tell you, and you can just find it. So
they're not watching TV or cable. They're watching movies.
You know, actually, I have Xfinity up in where I live, and I log into Xfinity. So when the Masters are on, guys can watch the Masters while they're getting a filling, or so you can actually just log into your cable account, whatever you have, and most of them have live TV nowadays. So some people want to watch, they're either watching CNN or Fox News. So.
Is that what most people watch, CNN or Fox News?
I would say most people watch HDTV, like all the fixer-upper shows and all those shows.
Oh my God! So when I say this, you can't make this up, but I just had my what is it, Friday? I just had my teeth cleaned Monday, and it had been a year and a half for me too. Of course I don't have cavities or gum disease, all that kind of stuff. The hygienist told me that most people like the fixer-up stuff because, like, if say you were watching a documentary, you'd have to stay engaged and focused the whole time. But fixing up a house and reselling, she said that was the most engaging, and that if most people see any CNN or Fox News, they say, "I'm so sick of that. Turn that crap off."
Yeah, that's what I'd say. Of all the channels, it's HGTV. So those are all on Netflix too. You know, the Fixer-Upper. That's a very popular show right now, and over the years I've had it, that's definitely the most popular ones.
Yeah, and it is a cool show because they take these bombed out houses that you wouldn't want to live in unless you lost your job and the only other choice was under a bridge, and then when they're done with it, it's just amazing.
I know. I think that looks like a fun remodel, letting someone else do it and make all the decisions. And I would hand it off to a lot of those guys.
So you said that you think most people are using headlights. Do you really believe that? You believe that most dentists are using headlights?
I guess maybe that's just my assumption based off everyone from my dental class bought a headlight, and then so and my friends use headlights. So I guess that's probably what I'm basing that off. No science by any.
I wish you would start a thread on Dentaltown under lights, and because when you start a thread, you can make it a poll. Are you aware of that?
Oh yeah, yes.
You can only do it if you start a new thread on the first post. So if you start a new thread, you can say create a thread, create a case, or create a poll. Would you mind starting that? Because when you said that, I thought, okay, because you're 43, I'm 54. My generation, it seems like a lot of people are getting that just because they're into readers and loops. They can't see. When you're getting old and falling apart, you kind of have to do that. But I wonder if young millennials who actually have working eyeballs and can see, I wonder what's going on in there. I wonder if it's taken off.
Yeah, that'd be interesting to see. I just assume because when my headlight goes out, I just stop, go get a new battery. I'm like I can't work anymore. So to me, it's so valuable that I guess maybe assume everyone.
So I want you to address this question because all the people listening to this show that are over 60 are saying, well, why don't I just set it on my cuspidor?
Right.
When's the last time? Are you even old enough? Did you ever even see a cuspidor or the?
My friend bought an office in a retirement town in Washington that's like this really sunny part of Washington that people don't know about. That's right behind the Olympic Mountains and it's in the rain shadow. And so a huge retirement community. And the office he bought had a cuspidor.
Well,
So I saw them before he
when I tell you
remodeled.
this, you're not going to believe it, and it's absolutely a true story. When I got here in '87, and I started going to the local study club, the most fun, exciting guy to sit by was like this. I don't know how old he was. Maybe he was 75, and he obviously had a wig. I mean, it was like curly hair, and he was just a character. And he smoked cigarettes on like this 2-inch filter, and he
Right.
used his cuspidor as the ashtray. And when you went into his operatory, I mean, there were at least 100 butts in his cuspidor.
Oh, my supply guy told me there was a guy that he would go see, and he would like be doing a filling, and then he would like take a puff and like blow out, exhale, and then just go right back to the filling.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
so.
that was 30 years ago. And I said to him, I said, do any of your patients mind that you smoke? And he goes, well, all my patients are my age. I've had them all for 50 years, and they all smoke too. And I just thought he was all personality. That guy could have got away with anything. I
Oh,
also noticed.
that's a big part of that. That's a big part of it, like the personality and like that interaction with patients. So I took over for a guy that had a huge personality, and it's pretty amazing that 16 years later they're telling me stuff he said and talking about him like he was just there.
Well, I mean, it's everything because everything you're doing in their mouth is invisible. They have no idea
Right.
what a filling and a crown and a root canal. They don't even know if they need a filling or a crown or a root canal. I mean, they're just it's all trust based. You're selling the invisible, and everybody I've ever seen in my entire life refer someone to a doctor, an OBGYN, whatever. It's just purely based on chairside manners.
Right.
Yeah.
True. They say you don't know. You don't know if you had a good dentist until you move or everything falls out in 5 years. That's what
Right.
I've heard.
Right. So I noticed on your website for your dental office, Casey Culberson, DDS.com, you have a big deal that says no insurance. Our patients don't need it. Click to get your preventive care for a low monthly fee. Plans start at $24 a month.
Yes, that's we use a third party company called Illumitrack, and it's basically they pay that, and then it includes cleanings, exam, X-rays, and then one emergency exam a year, and then they get 15% off of any work that they have done. So at first I was like, wow, we're giving it away for cheaper than if they paid cash. But these people have studied it, and they said people that pay cash, they skip exams, they will decline X-rays, they will skip cleaning sometimes and delay them out over time. And so actually this keeps them regular, it keeps them coming in, and then keeps them loyal as well.
What's the name of the company that does it?
Illumitrack.
Spell it.
Illumitrac. I don't think there's a K on there. They changed their name. It wasn't.
Illumitrack.
Yeah.
Dentistry's leading membership club. Where are they based out of?
So I got them. I found them through a advertising company called Tyson Steel that is out of Oregon, that had done my website and done some direct mail. That does our direct mail campaign, and it's the CEO or Tyson Steel himself that works with someone, and I think it's something to do with someone from PayPal does the financial part of it. So that part's very.
You say the person that does it, his name is Tyson Steel, Tyson
Tyson
Steel.
The marketing company is Tyson Steel, STEELE.com, and he's Tyson and someone else came up with this product that makes it very easy. I mean, a lot of people do it in-house themselves, but this one's very. It looks like it's from me. It's very like streamlined with my office. It doesn't look like it's a third party, but they handle all the billing, and then you just get them, deposited into your account minus their fee.
So, have you met Tyson Steel?
I've only met him on the phone, so not in person.
And what's he like? And what do you think of homies listening to you as far as using him? I
very much like Tyson Steel. They have a very good direct. Their main thing is like website development and then direct mail, and they've been wonderful. I mean, it's amazing how many. Like we call it, like when we get a referral, it's called the mailer. You know, that's what we call when someone says where they came from, and it when I get that report of how many people came from the mailer, it just makes me want to just keep doing it and keep doing it. And so, quite honestly, I kind of this last year did not mail as many as I normally did. I just felt like, oh, I'm busy. And then I looked at the numbers at the end of the year and I'm like, well, I did less than I did last year. And my like, I work with Kane Waters down in Texas for like financial planning and practice, not in-house consulting, but more like financial plan consulting. And they're like, your marketing, you did like enough for marketing and you're doing, and look, you did less last year than you did the year before. So I'm like, oh, you know, sometimes I think I get stuck in the day-to-day just doing dentistry, and you kind of step back sometimes and look at the big picture of like what your marketing dollars are producing and that. So they're a great company to work with because they help you with that process and target your zip codes and areas and do a very nice job on their brochure. It's not like a one-page thing. So
Well, you're so smart because in 1900, physicians, the healthcare was only 1% of the GDP. By 2000, it was 14%. Now it's 2017, it's 17%. But back in 1900, there were no specialties. By 2000, there were 58 specialties. When I got out of school, there were no accounting specialties in dentistry. And Kane Waters was one of the first ones out of Dallas. Now there's two dental CPA associations, and one has 6,000 dentists and one has 2,000 dentists. And everyone's noticed that no, almost zero of the dentists really understand their numbers. They can't read their statement of cash flow, balance sheet. They don't know the numbers. And Kane Waters is probably the most elite one. So how did you find Kane Waters, and how long have you been using them?
oh, they've been a complete blessing in my life. So
I know.
I started out my office. I mean, real life, bought an office, interest only loans, just killed it the first year and was like, this is easy. I like stockpiled, you know, a bunch of cash on the side. And then the next year, and I had a local accountant in Seattle. The next year I had to infuse that money back into my office just to like make payroll and things, even though I was producing the same, but now the loans were due. And my accountant was like, oh, you're doing great. You're doing great. And I just knew in my heart, I'm like, if I was doing great, I should have never touched that money that I had set aside. Like I shouldn't be putting money into my office. I'm actually, you know, subsidizing it. So I had gone to the dental conference in Seattle and Pacific Northwest Dental Conference, and I had heard Daryl Kane speak, and something about like him resonated with me. And then like when this moment with my accountant, I decided I'm going to call them. And I went down there, and I mean, it was like the worst 8 hours of my life, like probably the most intense 8 hours, going over all the issues. And basically, I was with what I had, I just was not producing enough. And they told me what I needed to produce more. Like they basically do a plan for you of exactly everything you want to do in your life, like how much you want to save for your kids' college, how much your insurance is, when you want to retire, how much you need to put aside, and then they tell you this number you need to produce in your office to cover all those things. And it was way more than I was producing, and I just didn't know how to do it. So they recommended a consultant. I used someone named Sharon Tiger, who's fabulous as well, and she like guided me through. But now I have this plan, and I go down and I meet with them once a year. I talk to them every 3 months. And I have this plan, and I have friends.
You talk to him every 3 months in person or on the phone?
On the phone, but then I do fly down there and meet with them for 8 hours once a year. Because now we're pretty dialed in. But I have to tell you, it gives me complete peace of mind. I don't like that part about it's not that I dislike it, that's not my passion. I'd rather go to work hard, treat my patients well, you know, and then go home and spend the time with my family. And so for me, having someone else looking at the whole finances, looking at a plan, I know exactly how much I can save. Then if I have extra, I don't have to feel bad about spending it, you know, on things, and I can be more generous, and I can all that because I know I'm doing everything to take care of my office and my family and my life. So that part of it has been wonderful. So it gives you complete peace of mind knowing that someone's looking for you.
So is Sharon Tiger a consultant for Kane Waters, or is she?
Not at all. They just recommend her. And
Where's she out of?
she's out of Texas too, but she flies up and she's just a one woman show. And
What's her website? Is it Sharon?
yeah, and then Tia, just Tiger, like Tiger
Yeah.
Woods. So yeah, I don't know if she has a website. I think she's really just word of mouth. And what's funny is I had a friend of mine come. So she saw a friend of mine's office. She came and consulted with a friend of mine's office. He owns a bunch of offices. He sent her to each one, and then another one from Seattle had her come up. And I mean, she just changes your life. To the point where she had to fly on a small plane to get to this small town in Seattle. And my friend's like, I'm going to drive her. She's too valuable. Like, even though she wasn't going to see him, she's like, I don't want her flying on that small plane. So same thing. She gave me a system in my office that truly, it just almost runs itself because everyone knows their job. Everyone knows their role. And I listen to my friends, and the idea of running an office sounds horrible if you didn't have these systems in place. So, and what Kane Waters does for the financial side and the financial plan side, she did for my office, and just made a plan of how we do our staff meetings, to how we have our morning huddle, to how we deal with patients and new patients. And so she's been a blessing as well.
And how long ago did you have Sharon come in?
She came in shortly after I had met with Kane Waters. So I started with Kane Waters 14 years ago. She came the first time probably 13 years ago, and then she came back 2 years later.
And have you had to ever? So you saw her 13 years ago, 11 years ago. Did you ever have to have her come back?
I have not had to have her come back, just because I'm pretty good at when someone tells me how to do something, I follow along and I do it. So tell me what to do and I'll do it. That's what I always say to my financial planner guy, and to Sharon as well. So she's pretty amazing because she takes like basically all the things you would love to have happen in your office, and she makes it so that it happens, but it looks like it's coming from her and not from you. So that part is, and it's amazing. So that's another day that you'll be very tired, your first day with the consultant. But I will say this about her, your staff gets terrified when you tell them a consultant's coming, but with her, by the time they leave, they love her. By the time she leaves, they love her. She's almost like a psychologist for all of them. So
now she's a member of the American Academy of Dental CPAs, right?
she is. I think her husband's a dental CPA.
Oh, her husband is.
Her husband is. So they work.
What's his name?
Well, I do not know, actually. I've never worked with him. I mean, she knows a lot because she's married to a CPA, so that part is nice. But I've never worked personally with him, only with Kane Waters.
Well, anybody that watches this show regularly knows that one of my most frustrating pet peeves is that whenever a dentist office isn't poised for growth, they're sinking, they have overhead, they always run out to learn how to place implants or buy a laser or go to some big institute and learn full mouth rehab. And I've always said and screamed and yelled that the number one return on asset is a dental office consultant. And you're so smart, you got out of school 16 years ago, and you were in Kane Waters and had a consultant within how many years out of school? 3?
Yeah, three out of school. But
So
yeah, that was out of desperation. Like you had heard my story, so but I had a complete benefit from that. It was almost
but most people stay in desperation mode for 40, 50 years.
right.
And they're always chasing a new recipe. Like if I learn sleep apnea, or if I learn Invisalign, or if I go to Koi, Spear, Panky, if I just keep learning how to be the best dentist in the world and sell the most variety of dental products in the world, I'll pay all my bills and have money and be rich someday. I mean, I got out of school and it was I had Sally, I had my whole team and Sally McKenzie in my office like right out of the gate. And then a couple of years later, sent a bunch of them to where I think at that time she was in Florida. I think she's back in Florida now. And just, I mean, it was just amazing to get set on the right set. And then every time I took 3 or 4 courses in implants or gum disease or whatever, I'd always take the team back to dental practice management. If you get your office poised for growth and you're successful, then you can go off and play and do any crazy thing you want to do.
Right.
It doesn't have to be profitable. You can do what you do. You can take your excess money and go do missionary dentistry wherever you want to do. But if your house isn't in order, then everything starts caving in.
Yes. So you benefited from that as well early on?
Oh, absolutely.
Has it given you the time to do dental? I mean, you obviously have some, if you were dealing with your office every day, like some of my friends are, it just sounds horrible. I'm like, that's why I think I have time to do some stuff on the side and, spend so much time with my family, is because it is an order and it just runs. And it's not that I'm neglecting it, it's that I'm proactive in like dealing with it as well. Because you'd have to have that in line to be able to do a little thing called Dentaltown on the side.
Well, the thing is, so many humans just don't want to delegate. They think if it's going to be done right, they got to do it themselves. They don't realize that, you have to learn how to manage from the grave. I mean, Ray Kroc is dead and McDonald's goes on. Sam Walton's dead and Walmart goes on. And you're going to die. And if the minute you die, your staff all just wander away and your patients come and there's a sign on the door. I mean, what is that?
Right.
And so why can you not delegate today, but you're going to have to delegate 100% at death? And a great exercise when you go to bed is when you lay down in your bed and you're pulling up the blankets and the lights are off, pretend that they're closing the casket and it's game over, and then say to yourself, what happens tomorrow? I mean, I've been doing that since the Catholic priest told us to do that in, what was that called? Mom, we had to do it a couple times a year. A retreat,
Right.
Yeah, so in Catholic school, at least once or twice a year, starting in probably 7th grade at St. Pat's, you had to, after Friday after school, you went off to this retreat. And it was really cool because it broke all your habits. I mean, you weren't going to go home and ride your bike and do whatever you want to do. And it broke that chain, and you're just forced to reflect. And you just, it's a great exercise of what's wrong with my business. Why is it that the greatest managers in the world are all dead, and they're like Sam Walton took, I think in his first 20 years, he opened up 18 locations. Now he's dead and they open up 40 a month.
Right.
So it's more about systems and delegating. And the dentists don't have systems because they didn't teach it in school, and they're control freaks. So they won't delegate. They won't let their hygienist explain the broken tooth. They won't let their assistant, when they're having an emergency, take an x-ray and the patient says, what's that? Probably 80% of offices, well, I'm not the doctor. I'm not allowed to say. And a lot of them say, if I say anything, I'll get in trouble.
Right.
And then, so it's kind of crazy. But
that's funny. My son was just in the hospital. The doctor was in the room, and she was just going through her preliminary stuff. And I was like, so what are you thinking? Give me like your give me your differential diagnosis. And my wife's like, you can't ask her that. And I was like, I can ask her that. And she was great. She's like, it's funny. Like she was like, I'm like, this is the doctor. Of course I could ask anyone, but this is like, it was pretty funny. That's perfect example. She's like, oh, you can't ask that. Like, how dare? They won't be able to answer. So
what did Sharon Tiger actually do for you? Did she came in with an HR manual? Was it job descriptions? Did she set up the task? I mean, what was the foundation she laid out that's been so great?
She comes in, first of all, she comes in and watches you for a half a day. So you schedule the morning, like, 7 to noon. And she just comes in and she doesn't say anything and just walks around and watches how you talk to patients, watches how your staff talk to patients, how things run, all that. And then it's like then there's the afternoon and then 2 more days after that. And she has, I think she has a psychology degree too. She's really, truly, like, one night she was at her house and she was giving my wife and I like marriage counseling, basically, like advice on, like, she's that personal that you really like her as a person, and so you trust her. And then what does she set up? She sets everything from your policy manual. Like if someone has a death and bereavement pay, I just check out the policy manual. But she starts with the morning huddle, how little things, like I used to always, new patients have to get a new patient exam first. They do not get their teeth cleaned first. She's like, her theory is give them what they want and then give them what they need. Like, you're not going to clean their teeth. If someone wants their teeth cleaned, who knows? She's like, they might have a wedding they're going to. Just clean their teeth for 1 hour, right? And then when you then talk about the perio. Talk about what you see. Tell them we're going to do this time because we know you want it, and then next time we're going to do a new patient exam and talk to you about all the issues we see. So she kind of changes my perspective of how I look at patients. She's like, she wants patients in the chair first, like, and then she teaches you how I was dealing with them. And I mean, she even goes into the staff. Like, I worked for another dentist in my office, and then for a year, and then I bought this office that's in the same office. We space share, and I was like really too friendly, she said, with my old staff that I worked with, because I was never their boss. I was just an associate, and so they were like my friends. And then so like that bothered my staff. I would have never known that if someone hadn't talked to them and told them. You know, I had one of the old staff members babysit my kids, but I didn't ask my kids, my own staff, to babysit. Well, I didn't want to because I thought they would be, you know, offended or would have to say yes if I asked them. But they wanted me to ask them. They didn't want me to deal with that. So those are like things in the office that I was completely unaware of. And since then, it's been amazing. And so she, you know, how we handle new patients, how we talk to them. And she's not like sales. She's more like relationships. So you never feel uncomfortable about her wording of how you say things. She just knows that patients, you'll tell them they have a cracked tooth, they get up to the front, they don't even know they need a crown. So you do little things like, you know, I'm concerned about her, you know, Susie needing a crown. Will you tell Nancy up front? And, you know, and then the hygienist goes up front and says, you know, Dr. Culberson's concerned about Susie needing a crown on number 3, you know, and like by the time they hear it 3 times, they're ready to go. So, and it's not stuff, you're not making it up, you're not selling, you're just, if it needs to be done, it needs to be done, and then she teaches you how to do it. And so that whole interaction of even little things like hygiene exams, I don't wait to the end to do my hygiene exam. I numb people, I go do my hygiene exams. And she taught me how to do that, and like, my hygienists don't wait anymore. They're on time. They run very smoothly. It's just part of the office now where everything is much more streamlined and simple, and everyone knows their job. And we get a new employee, and we don't have a lot of turnover, but a couple people had some kids and became stay-at-home parents. And she, like, everything's in such a role that like the new person does not take long to be like just part of the team. So that part's she's been great all around. So that might have been a lot of info, but
No, I mean, it's the most important stuff, the relationship stuff. I mean, when you go to college, you're literally led to believe that if you just got A's in calculus and physics and chemistry and biology, that would be all the answers to the universe. It kind of reminds me of the first Western religion, which was the Pythagorean cult, the Greeks. And they started discovering this geometry, and they actually thought it was a clue to the other world, the other side. So it turned into like a cloistered monastery trying to figure it out. And for 100 years, they worked out every geometrical thing in the universe and realized it was just geometry. It wasn't a clue to the other side.
sure.
And you come out of school and you think, well, God, I just crushed chemistry and calculus and biology. The life will be easy. And then you find out that you'll never use any of that crap your entire life. And if you crush what you learned in kindergarten, in the playground, in the sandbox, and learn how to play well with others, life's so easy.
Right. Oh, yeah.
And what's sad is the natural selection. They only let people in dental school who get A's in calculus, physics, chemistry, and biology. And those usually aren't the people who are the most warm and fuzzy and friendly. So many people are accepted to dental school that don't have the skill set to form a relationship to sell the invisible. They should be selling an engineering product. They should be selling something that the customer already knows exactly what it is. It's not the personality set to sell the invisible where it's all based on trust. I mean, if you tell me my granddaughter needs, has this disease, I mean, I just have to trust you. I'm trying to analyze you. You're warm, you're friendly. Is this what's going on?
Yes, it's pretty amazing. Sometimes I'll be working on someone and I'll be like, because you do it every day, and you're like, this is a lot of trust that this person is letting me do this on them, And then actually just getting even my teeth cleaned, I'm like, it's a pretty invasive job we have, and I think sometimes you can forget that. So that I always try to like do anything to make them more comfortable, and I think they sense that, and they like you as a person, and they say not yes to things they don't need, but they're just open to trusting you and going forward.
Well, I got to ask you a serious question. Like all the women you know in your life, if they went to, they saw on an oil change 1999, and they pulled in there and they said, yeah, I went to 1999 oil change and my engine light's on and spent 3,000 miles. And the man comes out and says, well, I looked at your air filter and I think you need a new air filter and you need to flush your transmission line. What % of women in America would say, I don't even believe you. I think you're just trying to sell me something.
I just got my oil change, and I was watching the person do that to a woman, and I, you know, I don't know exactly. She actually said no. I was kind of surprised. I thought she was going to say yes, but I don't think it was a. I feel like everyone assumes in those scenarios that because they don't know the person that they're just selling. So I would say it'd be a pretty low percentage.
Yeah, and you know, your air conditioner breaks down. So you call the AC guy that's on all the commercials, and he comes down and he says, you know, your air conditioner is real. It's like 9 years old. You need a brand new air conditioner. I can't fix this old one. What percent of women in American households would say, I don't even believe you? I think you're just trying to sell me a new air conditioner.
I I would think we just ran through this at my house with my roof. It had a leak, and our house is 14 years old, and the guy's like, "You need a new roof," and I'm like, "This is ridiculous. We don't need a new roof." My wife's like, "We need a new roof." So I'm gonna say it's pretty high that they're just gonna believe.
Why do people get three bids? And the United States government is the worst because the entire country was built by the lowest bidder.
Right.
So people say, well, why did it take 3 years to build that freeway? Because the guy who was the highest bidder could have finished it in probably 90 days.
Right.
But they went with the lowest bidder on earth, so it takes 3 years. And then 3 years after it's built, it's going to be torn up again because it's all crap to begin with. The entire country was built by the lowest bidder. That's what John Glenn said when he got back to Earth, when he was orbiting the Earth. He was sitting up there thinking, oh my God, I'm sitting in a capsule that was built by the lowest bidder.
Yes.
You know, I mean, that was his words.
Right.
So the dentists like you who are warm and fuzzy and personal and have a nice staff and low turnover and all that, you guys just crush it. And that's what's more important. Even though I know you love technology, from CBCTs to CAD CAM, you love high tech, and I want you to talk about that. But it's the trust that you're exuding that's making you crush it. I don't believe it's the technology. Do you think you're successful because you have a CBCT and a CIRAC, or
No.
because people trust you?
No, people trust me, and I know because the thing that bothers me the most about dentistry and was when people treat me like I'm being untrustworthy. That actually eats at me. Like, I get most offended. I mean, and they're like, when they treat you like you're trying to sell them and you're not. So that's how I know them, because most people don't treat you like that, but occasionally they do, and you're like, that's what hurts me the most. It's not like if they get mad, sometimes they'll get mad. You do a filling, and now their tooth has a toothache, right? And they get mad. That's understandable. But when they treat you like you're trying to swindle them or make stuff up, that, because I'm so not, that really like hits me. My friend says I need a thicker skin, but I'm like, yeah, that's what gets me, and that's what I think about some nights at home when I put my head on the pillow. Is like, but until the next person does it at another time. But yeah, so it's not. I don't think it's the. I mean, it's cool. It's there's a wow factor to technology, but you could refer out the implant and have someone else do it, or you can do guided in your office, and I think they like it. But if they don't trust you, the basis has got to start with trust. And so a lot of people just have blind trust, but the majority of people I don't think run that way, and they really. That's why I think you get 3 bids. I don't think it's always the money. I think it's like how well the person interacts. I just watched that with my wife because she kind of handled our new roof, and that she liked one of the people better, like the way he explained it, the way she just felt from him, like that's who she went with. So I think that's a big part of it. So, I mean, the technology is nice, and I don't think you should be a dinosaur, but at the same time, I don't think that's the basis of why people are choosing to work with you.
Well, you've been out of school 16 years. Podcasts are very popular with millennials, and
Yes.
a lot of them are very scared at the purchase price. What technology did you buy, and was it? Are you glad you did it? Was it a return on investment, or is it sitting in the back of the office and being used as a coat hanger?
Yeah, that's funny. When I bought the office, he had a laser, a hard tissue laser, like a long time ago, and he called it his $40,000 coat rack.
Yeah.
That's where he hung his jacket on, and I thought that's funny that you said that. So I do have the benefit that I'm in an office where we space share, so I get the benefit of we don't mingle money, but we do buy things together. So when it was time to look at a CEREC machine, one guy, actually first I started with the iTero, and the lab actually paid for our iTero. They paid the lease if we sent enough cases to them, but that kind of sold me on the fit of these digital, impressions. I mean, the fit was amazing. And so then my partner was interested in the CEREC. So just two of us got the benefit of getting a CEREC machine together. So that was half the cost.
Now, when you talk about space sharing, describe it in more detail. I mean, is it like 6 ops, 10 ops? I mean, or is it like
we have 13.
13 ops?
13 ops, and we work on a schedule like 2 weeks on, 1 week off. So I work 4.5 days a week. And then in 5 rooms. I get 5 rooms for 2 weeks. And then on my week off, there's 3 rooms available. So, then
you get 5 ops for 2 weeks and then 3 ops for 1 week?
Yes. But I try not to work, like on that week, we have on Monday, a periodontist works in those 3 ops that we hire, he's almost like an associate periodontist. And then we have an endodontist on Fridays that works in that. So my ability to work on my week off is only 3 days.
So
really.
it's just you and one other dentist do this space share?
2 other dentists.
So there's 3 of you?
Yes. So someone's always on their week off. And we call it our week off. Now, if the week off is the first week of February and we have another week off on the last week of February, then I'll add some days on those weeks off. But like in the summer, I don't. I work.
And what hours does 3 people cover? I mean, are you extended hours because of?
Not at all.
What are your hours?
Mine are 7. Well, 9.
But I mean the dental office itself.
Yeah, 7 to 5.
On what days?
Well, so myself is 9.
7 to 5 Monday through Friday.
No, we only work half day on Friday, so till noon or 1. Everyone's different. Like I start at 7, I end at 4. My partner starts at 7:30, ends at 4:30. And I start late on Mondays, go a little late on Monday. But it's just a normal schedule as far as...
And do you share the staff, or you have your own staff?
No, we share one person at the very front that answers and screen, patients walking in. But then each person has their own manager or front desk person. I don't always like to call them.
And look, how long have you been in this relationship?
My whole entire time.
And do you think, do you like it, or do you think it had just been a lot easier just to go to have your own 5 operatory office?
I would say the benefits far outweigh the limitations. The limitations, I was just looking at, my friend bought some land and we were going to build an office, and I was going to have a big office with associates, and I don't know. I just am at a point where my kids are 13 and 15. I only have them for 5 more years. I just realized that I am in this setup that is incredibly simple. I got 2 other dentists right there that I can look at cases with, discuss things, kind of just, talk, just hang out, have a friend that's like my colleague, but we're not financially, so we have there's no animosity at all. And then at the same time, I got these staff, there's a bunch of people that don't work for me that are just kind of like friends, but then if one of my staff members is sick, well, guess what? Usually someone's on their day off. They will fill in and cover. So it's really been I've been able to it's like that little Plinko machine where I just kind of bounce my way through my office. I mean, I have my plans and I deal with my patients my way, but I'm in the middle of this wonderful group that is, I think it's because there's no money that it doesn't get dirtied and doesn't get complicated. And we didn't end up in a practice divorce or anything. So they're probably the longest group practice in Washington. They've been together since I started going there when I was 6. So I'm
where you're at now.
Yes. So my partner was my childhood dentist. So that's how I ended up there.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
And so the periodontist comes in, so he's the one placing the implants?
No, I mean, we each still place our own plans. Every one of us places implants, but we've always referred out the harder ones, or, I don't know. I feel like if I got a guy that will do a sinus lift and he gets paid 50% of collections, and, his overhead is not very much, I still get paid, even if I send it to him, I still get a piece of that. So I'd rather him, there's certain things that I think are in better hands with a specialist that does them all the time. I don't do any root canals anymore. And
how many implants do you think you've placed, and how many do you think the periodontist has placed?
Well, he is, this is probably his first 9 months. So I've been trying to give him a lot more of the ones that I would probably do on my own. But some patients want me to do it. We've talked about it before, and they want me to do it. But then there's the ones I'm not comfortable with. So he's probably doing 80% of my implants right now, and I'm doing 20%.
And which cases do you like to do yourselves?
I do them all, just having the CEREC machine and the cone beam, I do them all guided, even the ones that people would say very straightforward, but it just gives me peace of mind, and the scheduling is really easy with the guided case for me. So I pretty much do the, you know, ones that aren't no sinus, wide ridge, you know, basically the straightforward ones is what I do.
And you could do an endo.
I enjoy myself. I'm not trying to push the envelope and implants to myself. I'll pick the ones that I'm very comfortable with, and the ones I'm not, I let someone that is more comfortable with do them, because I'm always looking for the patient's best interest as well.
So how many days a week does the periodontist come? How many days a month?
Just 1 day a week. So
1 day a week. That's a half day, full day?
Full day.
Wow. So 3 dentists need a periodontist 1 full day a week.
Right.
So 1 dentist would need one.
Yeah.
Basically about 1 full day a month.
Yeah.
So the endodontist, how have the endodontists come?
She comes every Friday as well, and she'd actually like to work more. So she's trying to talk us into adding a day.
So when did you quit doing endo?
Pretty much when she came on, I quit doing. Well, no, actually not before that.
How long ago was that?
With endo, like now with now using microscopes and things, and just the training they have, I felt like I was at that divergent point where I felt like I wasn't following the path to become educated enough in endo that I was doing the same quality that endodontist was doing. I have no problem with the general dentist doing endo. I just feel like you need to further your progression in learning and education to do it, and I wasn't, and I don't really. It doesn't really.
Well, it's kind of funny because the noise in dentistry, there's so much noise because so many people say things because they have an economic reason to say it. In 1900, there were no specialties. In 2000, the MDs had 58 and we had 9. And now today, so many people promote being a super dentist, that you should learn sleep apnea and Invisalign and place implants and bone graft and sinus lifts and map foot and cosmetic dentistry. It's like, so basically you think we're going back to the 1900s?
Right.
So when someone says to me, well, I want to add sleep apnea, my first knee jerk is, okay, what are you going to give up?
Right.
And they say, oh no, I'm going to master everything. And I'm like, okay, be a master of everything and be a jack of all trades and master nothing. And you're again recognizing that you can't be 58 specialists if you're a physician, and you can't be 9 specialists if you're a dentist.
Right. I actually started a thread on Dentaltown once called "Why I Hate Dentaltown," and it wasn't. It sounds. It was more of a like to draw people in, but it was because I felt that I would look at Dentaltown, and you got like the best of every like subcategory, and you really at the end you feel like I can't know all this. I can't know all this. Like I feel like a worse dentist, like a hack, because I'm looking at all this stuff. So it's not that I didn't like Dentaltown, it's that like sometimes it could be almost like and I don't really get stressed out. It might make my pulse rise looking at this amazing dentistry. And it's not that it was like, it's just in every field, the best people are on there, right? So you see the best of everything and you're like, I can't be that good in everything. So that's where I'm like, yes, like we're going to pass it off and let these guys be really good at this. And I will just not just bread and butter dentistry.
And I don't want to make another comment. You know, when I opened my office, which will be, I graduated 30 years ago. This May 11th is my 30-year anniversary. Got my office open September 21. So this September 21 is my 30 years. And I hired an associate right out of the gate. And for the same reason, it was Bob Savage. And he was a Creighton boy too. And for the camaraderie, the fun. I mean, I just thought it was just professionally lonely to be the only dentist in a box. And I've always noticed the dentists in group practice are significantly more smiley and happy and motivated and less burnout. And when you're finding out they're drinking a bottle of Listerine in between patients, eating Vicodin, burned out on Dentaltown, talking about how I hate dentistry, blah blah. They're always by themselves. And
yeah.
They closed down Alcatraz when the lawyers convinced the judge that you didn't sentence this person to be killed. And remember that what was that movie with who's that that actor who was in Apollo 13 who was in that Alcatraz movie? Kevin Bacon.
Oh, yeah.
Did you ever see him in that movie Alcatraz?
So, not the actual Alcatraz movie?
Yeah. And he played the part of that when you're in solitary confinement after 2 or 3 years, you're completely irreversibly brain damaged. And once they got enough data in cases that showed that these people are irreversibly brain damaged from isolation, they close it up. And you're a social animal, and it's just more fun to be hanging with a homie that's another dentist or two or three at work than all by yourself.
I completely believe that. Like the only thing I don't like about dentistry is like I would like some more like spontaneity in my day, which I don't have. But other than that, I mean,
And what do you mean by spontaneity?
I just would like, hey, it snowed. I'm going skiing tomorrow. You know, like I can't do that, right?
Oh, okay.
Foot a foot. I'm going to go skiing tomorrow. I know that I'm not going skiing tomorrow or whatever day because I have patients scheduled. So just that's more of my free spirit side. But I have to say, like going to office, like I not only have two dentists that are like buddies, but I have these two other staffs that aren't, I'm not their boss, you know, like I don't expect anything from them. So that it's just a lot of like good times, you know, and laughs. And
Okay, so what CBCT did you buy?
we bought the Serona one.
The Galeos?
No, not the Galeos. We did the smaller one.
What's it called?
Isn't that funny? Once you Orthopod X whatever XGS, I don't know what it is.
And you also bought a CEREC machine.
Yes.
And how long have you had the CEREC machine?
We've had it about 8 years.
Okay, well, it's a big decision. It's 140 grand. What would you tell a 25-year-old who's thinking about it?
I would say, one, it doesn't make your life easier. That's what someone told me, and I totally believe that. The CEREC machine does not make your life easier because when I like squeeze in a emergency and I just prep a crown real quick and take an impression because I don't have time to seat it and all that, it is easier, but it's not magical, you know? And like the CEREC machine is magic and the patients love it. So as long as you're committed and you're like, I'm diving in, I'm learning this technology, and nowadays it's so amazingly easy to scan and to design and just to have total control. And so if you're going to dive in and do it, I'd say do it. It makes it's the response you get and the interaction with the patient and like showing them that whole process is so powerful. I think it's completely worth it.
But I'm going to go through the logistics. When you are doing a CEREC, do you scan, design, mill, stain, glaze? Are you the lab man, or do you delegate that to your assistants?
I do scan, but I do that out of a time. You know, like I might not scan the opposing or the bite, but I scan the final preparation because I want the quality control of knowing. I don't want to have to go back and look at it and then decide that I didn't get the scan I want, because that part is very important. I believe in the garbage in, garbage out principle. So I want the best, cleanest scan I can get of the prep that I made, that I know that, oh, the gums are like hanging over the edge a little bit, and my assistant without loops is not going to know that when they look at it. So then we're going to go back. So I actually do this scanning, and then a lot of people delegate the design, and I think you can. I think in my scenario, I don't think that I would have to, a couple staff, one staff member is really not interested in it, one of the assistants, so, and I feel like it might be a little too much for her, but all the other ones could totally do it, but so in my sense, I just design it real quick and hit mill, and then the next time I come in, it's stained, glazed, ready to be bonded in. So, because I mainly do Emacs.
But you know what? Why does your assistant not have loops? You have loops?
I know. That's been on my conscience. I'm like, well, I'm like, why don't they have a loops and lights? So
yeah, I make it mandatory. All my hygiene assistants, and it's so funny because when I did that, they were not happy. They were accusing me of being old and I needed it, and I'm like, no, because you know some of those hygienists are so much younger. I'm like, no, if you can see something 2, 3, 4 times bigger, I mean, how, you know, that's just the deal. But I force that, and then I see dentists on Dentaltown, they're talking about the assistant, you know, she misses cement or this or that, and I always say, well, was she using naked eye? I mean, I can find posts of you saying that you had a 3.8 magnification. Now you're mad at your assistant for missing, or look at periimplantitis. You know, you go cement a crown but yeah, I make everyone clinical wear loops, and if everybody just sees twice as big, they'll be twice as quality.
I've actually, that has been on my mind, like when I was looking, you know, like how can I, and I say that logically, how can I expect them to get the same results that I expect of myself if they can't see it. So,
And what's also,
Christmas
if
present.
when my loops broke one time, I didn't even want to do dentistry. I thought I was cheating the patient. You know what I mean? So I have 2 pair of loops. And now some of the, a lot of the staff, like my assistant's been there 30 years. I mean, it's like not only do they wear loops, now they want backup loops too because they don't even want to be a dental assistant for the day if something happened to their loops. Because sometimes you drop them and they might fog or sometimes there's always some crazy thing. So you think CEREC was worth it?
Yeah, absolutely.
And
I
you,
love the integration with an implant, like designing the implant, where it's going to go for a guided surgery, and then importing the final design of the crown. And I have to say, those tie bases, like I use Straumann, so I use a Straumann tie base with the Emax crown. It's like they're bonded outside the lab.
you use Straumann what?
I use Straumann implants, and so we use the Straumann tie base. So CEREC Sirona makes a tie base. So a tie base is the titanium piece that it's basically an abutment, but the crown cements to it extraorally, and then it's screw retained because I love screw retained crowns, but have always been ugly in my filling in the things. But with the CEREC, with the tie base, the porcelain is so thick that it just is like you get all the benefits aesthetically of a cement retained crown in the posterior, but with no cement, no worry of cleanup and all that. So that part has been amazing. And like putting in the implant and like looking at your planned placement of the implant and then the post-op picture is like so gratifying because it's so exact of where you thought it was. I think that it's accurate to within 1/10 of a millimeter. So I like that in my day. I don't like the drill, take an x-ray, oh, I'm off a little bit, I'm going to re-angle, I just want it to go smooth, planned, start to finish. And I can do all that, and then it doesn't add time because I can do it in between patients here and there.
So what did you think of Sirona, who makes your CEREC machine, getting married to Dentsply because they have an implant? Do you think they'll be trying to integrate the Dentsply implant more closely with the CEREC and Orthopod CBCT?
I don't know. I feel like the world's getting more open than more closed. Like more open platform. I've noticed that about between Itero and like being able to export files now. So hopefully they don't like bog you down to just use it. I just don't like. I mean, Apple you have to use Apple things with Apple, and I understand why they do that, but sometimes it's limiting because there's certain things you want to do. So hopefully they don't do that.
So you won't be switching to the Dentsply's Astrotech implant anytime soon?
Not at the moment. Sometimes.
Well, okay. What about the flip side of that question? The block. I mean, when Sirona when Sirona was alone, Emax from Ivoclar was the major block, but now Dentsply has a CAD CAM block. What do you same question to the Dentsply CAD CAM blocks?
Is it lithium? Is it lithium disilicate? Is it the same material or is it different?
Gosh, what is the?
I will be honest. Like when you ask me, like what time? Sometimes when I'm using something and it works in my hands, I'm not out there trying to find 50 other options. Like I know exactly how this works. It's I have a busy office. When I'm there, I'm working hard. So I'm not always trying to find different alternatives for some problem I feel like I've already solved. So that's why I'm still using the Emax, just almost every time. So I sometimes I'll go to some courses and they'll show like, well, with this shade I use this, and that's more anterior stuff, but it's almost overwhelming. I'm like, well, and I mill out 3 of them and I'm like, I think I'm going to be doing more, sending that to my little local lab.
Their block is the Celtra. Right, the CELTRA duo block, Celtra duo block. But the guy who really got Dentsply to be a huge company and all the mergers and acquisitions was John Miles, and I had dinner with him so many times. He was one of the coolest guys. He had the biggest, the Miami Vice boats.
Yes,
he had the biggest boat in the Chesapeake Bay, and his wife was from Puerto Rico. And that guy could literally boat from Florida to Puerto Rico to visit family. I mean, they're just one of the coolest guys you'd ever met in your life. But he said that in his business, it was so lucrative because dentists were so brand loyal, because if you do 10 different things and say your filling material works, or in your
Right.
case, your CAD/CAM block works, you've always got something that's not working or you want to improve, that if something's working, you don't even think about changing impression materials or your
Right.
diamond burrs. I mean, you're doing so many damn things that if it's working, no one's touching it. So he was saying that if something's working for a dentist, they usually keep it for a decade.
Right.
A decade, a decade of longevity, just because, just go where the fire is. Don't go solve a problem that doesn't exist.
Right. That's why that's why I went with the Sirona cone beam, because I had a Sirona machine that was amazing, right? In the CEREC, and I was
Now,
like,
who was your teacher for the cone beam, the CBCTs? Was it Jay Resnick, or who was your mentor teaching you that?
that would be CEREC doctors.
SeracDoctors.com,
Yes. Just watching videos of how to integrate and do all that.
which is really Dentaltown 2.0.
Yes, it is.
That was all started by a bunch of townies.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, because they realized the value of it. But I got my CEREC machine delivered on a Friday, and the guy cleaning my office was like, "What's that?" And I said, "Oh, it makes crowns." I just gave him the quick one. He's like, "I have one with you on Monday. I want you to use it." So I just went on Dentaltown and learned how to do a CEREC crown. I'd never taken the course yet. I wasn't doing it on Monday. But I did it, and I figured if it doesn't work, it's my temporary, and it was amazing. And it's very amazing. You can go there and learn how to do a completely new procedure and off all that.
So when did you get into mission work, and where did that come on your journey? Where did that come from?
So I've always my friend's dad was a dentist, and so no one in my family was a dentist. My friend's dad was a dentist, and he used to always go on trips, and I would see photos and hear stories, and I knew always that's something I wanted to do. In dental school, there was a professor that my friend was older. He was 3 years older than me in dental school. He was the fourth year when I was the first year, and he had gone on mission trips. This professor had really taken him under his wing and taken him on some trips. And so my friend took me on a trip, and then I just went every year. And it's funny. It's financially to go for 2 weeks, it's never, the math never works out. But I'm the only reason I'm not going to help people and just the experience, and I've then for money, then I'm going to definitely go. So I've taken my staff. I mean, it's been great. I mean, it's like a family now in my office, you spend a couple of weeks in Africa with your...
Where have you gone? Where have you gone?
I have gone to Mexico, but with Health Teams International, the trip that goes in March is when I usually go.
What's the name of the place?
Cameroon is a country in West Africa.
No. What was the name of the
Health Teams International.
And is that healthy? And where did you find that?
That was my friend was this guy, the instructor at school was on the board of.
And
health.
is it just dentists, or is it physicians too?
No.
Or
Physicians, dentists, nurses, they kind of set up a little clinic, and you just go there and you have you have no equipment. I mean, you're basically pulling teeth out of chairs, but it's a powerful experience, and it really makes you appreciate your life back home and your family and all that. So I know that there's some debate on short-term missions, and I feel that you pull a guy's tooth and then a week later they're going to have another abscessed tooth. But I have to say, the kid that walked in there and had an infection behind their eye that would have killed them within a week, and they get one shot of rocephin, antibiotic, and the next day you see them and the swelling's gone, you're like, that kid, I don't care if we did anything, that kid's life was changed and saved because we were there. So there's some powerful moments like that as well, and just powerful moments between the team as well. So I think you get as much out of it as you give. So, and it's just been a part of my, and I don't do it for patients. I mean, patients make comments, sometimes negative, which is funny. I know you go to Africa, but you won't fix my tooth for free. So I don't know. I usually, in my philosophy and practice, I usually pick people I think really need and will really need dentistry, and then I'll just do theirs for free. They'll be my free case rather than giving every one of my friends 50% off. I'd rather that have good jobs and can afford it. I give them a deal, but I just try to pick people that I think need it and will help them in their life. So yeah, so then I ended up being on the board of that and just leading some trips, and it's amazing. I just talked to the guy from Africa today. Like, I'm not on this trip this year. It was just not good timing with my kids' life. But they were just in Africa FaceTiming. I mean, even that 10 years, 12 years has changed so much. Like, I'm talking to my friend who's on a mission trip in Africa, like live, like we are here. So that's been a big, wonderful thing. So, and it's a Christian-based organization. So they team with pastors there, and that part is run kind of by the people there, and you're just there to just show God's love and just serving. So I'm not there like preaching other than just working hard and letting them see it in action. So,
Well, you know, every year we have 12 issues of Dentaltown magazine, and every year I think it's in June or July is the do good issue. And a lot of people, when you start coming out with that, they're like, well, I want to read about root canals and implants and CAD/CAM and all that. But the reason I am so fond of that issue is because dentistry's burn out, people get lost, and you know they get all caught up in America and the world and all these things like that. And I'll never forget my first missionary trip. You know, I was stressed out of my mind, but I made it to the airport. I flew down there. The next thing you know, you're with 5,000 people with no running water, no electricity, no anything, and it talk about a complete reboot.
right.
Where you just get grounded, and you're like, okay, everything I was stressed about is completely insane. I have no, you know, you have no idea how lucky you are. And I've taken my boys. I don't know how many countries I've taken my boys. I mean, dozens of countries. And I can remember when they were like 1, 3, 4, and 5. I took them to this missionary dental deal, and after about 4 or 5 hours, my oldest boy said, "Dad, how come they don't have trampolines?" And you know, here's a village with no electricity.
Right,
But
right.
his 6-year-old walnut brain, the thing he's missing is his trampoline in his backyard. And I just took my 21-year-old to a couple countries, and I mean, it's just so I just love it, and so many dentists who are burned out. You know, Dentaltown, the message boards has 50 categories, and one of them is humanitarian dentistry, whether it be charitable or missionaries, you know, religious based or charitable. And there's so many things you can do in your backyard. I mean, there's homeless shelters,
Right.
like my sister's place, where you can just, even if you just call it my sister's place, say, okay, when some girl hides in there and her husband knocked at her front tooth, you know, just if you bring her to my office, we'll build back her oral health so she can get back her dignity, mental health. And dentistry is mostly all girls, and you give some girl an implant crown or a 4 unit bridge or whatever it takes to get her smile back. Those girls in your office are realizing this is real. You know what I mean? This is just so real, and I just think it's the best thing. So you should write something up for the do good issue.
There you go. All right.
Yeah, it's every year. So you got a year's notice, or if you're too busy right now. But hey, I can't believe it, man. We are at an hour. We went 8 minutes over, but so it's Casey Culberson. His website is molarmediamount.com. And big fan of your post, and thank you for all that you do for dentistry and all that you do for Dentaltown. I sure really enjoyed talking to you.
All right. Thank you. Maybe I'll see you at the Dentaltown convention in a few weeks.
Oh, are you going to townie meeting?
I think I am.
Oh.
I think I was going to get a booth. I've never done a dental trade show. And so, not that that's a full trade show, but I was thinking of just getting a booth for those couple days and seeing.
Well, you should, because you know why it's so cool, because they already know you, so they already like you, they already trust you, all that. But you get a couple townies that try it out, that are posters,
Right.
and half the world will know about it.
Right.
If you sell it to some guy who's shy and won't post and just lurks, but just sell it to someone who's got 1,000 posts on Dentaltown, and that'll be. I hope I see you in Vegas.
Just give it to those guys.
What's that?
I think you just give it to those guys.
Okay, give it to those guys. But again, man, thanks. I hope I see you Caesar's Palace, April 19th, 21.
All right.
All right,
Thanks.
buddy.